do with it, and who we share it with will be up to you later. But I always like to benchmark these, so we've got something. And when we're in the middle of it, I tend to not to get to appreciate what's being exchanged. And so when I go back and listen to it, like, oh yeah, that was what I was supposed to get out of this. So enough about me. We need to get to the bottom of this. So I got a lot of questions, and I want to hear more about you first. Tell me about your background first.
Yeah, I mean, just very quickly, Lyle, it's been, I think you've gone through a similar process. I was just watching, you did I think it was a podcast with Lily Nova about a month ago. I was just watching that. So I know you've been through a similar sort of process, haven't you?
Dude, I've been through the same process you've been through. It just started a little earlier, and for whatever reason, my propulsion is advanced. I can't speak to that. All I know is that there's downloads coming like at a rapid rate, and you're just trying to do everything you can to assimilate all of that as you're supposed to, and only wait for the next signal to tell you what it's all lining up for.
Yeah, I mean, it's been. I think I said on some of the messages. I mean, and it's probably the same that happened to you. This wasn't by choice. None of this. It just happened. It wasn't intentional at all. It wasn't planned in any way. Like I say, I was just watching that one with Lily that you did, and
keep going.
It literally, I think COVID was a real trigger for a lot of awakenings.
The timing lines up, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think because it was such a profound experience, it kind of, it just triggered something inside, didn't it? I mean, just to touch on when it all happened for me, obviously COVID started, and I actually made a conscious thought during COVID I could have gone two ways. I could have, just thought the world was going to end, we're all going to die. It was a terrible time, obviously, very fearful time. So I made a conscious choice to kind of look at it in a positive way, as in, I'm not gonna let this kind of overtake my life, sort of thing. And I started doing sort of positive practices. So I discovered transcendental meditation. I don't even know why, really. Yeah, and it's probably a similar thing with you. Things started to happen, changes. I was making changes in my life, really, and I didn't really know why I was making them. I just felt compelled to do it. So discovered transcendental meditation, started exercising every, because obviously we were in lockdown, we couldn't leave the house and stuff like that. So this was really in the middle of COVID, so 2020, 2021. So for probably about a year or so, I was doing the transcendental meditation daily.
Can I ask, just because I love frames of reference, and I know we'll stop looking at things in a linear perspective soon, but when did you start your TM training?
I just discovered it on YouTube. I didn't even know what it was. I'd never done meditation before. I was just like compelled to find out about meditation, and discovered transcendental meditation, started doing it myself. And it just, I don't know. It felt good. It felt right. I can't explain it really. So I was doing that daily. I discovered breath work. So Wim Hof, I think, really sort of was the first person I discovered with doing sort of breath work. So I started doing that every day. Like I say, it was really in the height of COVID. I couldn't leave the house, lockdowns, couldn't see family, couldn't see friends and stuff like that. So I just had this mindset of, I need to do positive things. I need to try and make myself, get in a positive frame of mind because of everything that's going on in the world. So the breath work really made me feel good. The meditation made me feel good. I started exercising every day, which I wasn't before. Just all these practices felt positive changes. And because I was feeling good, I continued to do them. So I probably was doing them for maybe 12 months. And this was every day, every single day, exercise, breath work. I'd wake up in the morning and do a meditation while I was still in bed. And then I would do it again just before sleep. And I was just doing that every day. I got in a really nice routine. Did some breath work during the day. I'd exercise probably midway through the day. So really, as you can probably imagine, there are 3 practices that I wasn't doing before COVID. Started introducing those daily, and I was feeling great, even though what was happening in the world was obviously very, very uncertain, very fearful and stuff like that. In my own reality, I was feeling good. I was feeling positive. I was feeling healthy. I was feeling upbeat. It was a bit of a strange paradigm, really, because you almost kind of felt a bit guilty in a strange way that people are dying and there's all this fear and there's this pandemic going on. But actually, how I was feeling inside, I was feeling good. I was feeling positive. So I just continued to do those practices, and then I don't know how it was for you personally. I'm sure you'll tell me, but when that moment happened, it was just, it's hard to really describe. Really, it was profound. It was just unbelievable. You know, the actual awakening moment itself. It literally changed my life, basically. So since then, I mean, it's not even been a year since that happened. And I actually don't do any of those practices now. I don't do any of them because I feel like I don't need to do them. It's very strange. I don't meditate now. I don't do breath work. I don't even exercise. But the downloads still come. And they can come anytime. And you don't really know where they're coming from. Yeah, I'm sure you sort of feel the same, really. But you kind of almost instinctively know that it's a good thing. It's a positive thing. It's not a malevolent thing. Do you know what I mean? It's
Good.
And you just have to kind of go with it, really. And I've kind of just learned to just what's the word? Just
Allow.
Yeah, just no resistance. Just and I continue to do that, really. I mean, some of it is just so unbelievable. I would probably be put in an asylum if I probably sort of told you probably half the things really, but that's what's happened. That's even some of the things I've even told you, even just in some of those messages. I mean, sometimes you think, you try and sort of step away from it and try and think logically and rationally and think, you know, look, I'm just a normal, regular guy, or so I thought. You know, you sort of say, what's your background? Just a normal guy, family guy, you know, 2 kids. That was all before this. And then now it's like, I mean, sometimes I'm sure you've thought this yourself, like, I've seen this so many times in the sort of spiritual community, you know, you're not going crazy, you're just waking up. I've seen that so many times. And that's been helpful, because sometimes you do think you're going crazy, basically, especially some of the things that come through. So yeah, there's a little bit, there's a little snapshot really. But,
So how old are your kids? You mind if I ask?
Yeah, my kids have just turned, their birthdays are very similar. They're only about a week or 2 apart. They're both Aquarius as well, which is a bit odd.
How old?
My son is just turned 11 and my daughter is 9.
And do they show any signs of, you know, connecting to other things? Have you noticed that? And your spouse, I'm certainly interested in that.
Well, I'm actually divorced. I'm actually divorced now, but yeah, my kids, they seem different, if that's in a good way.
Have you been able to have any kind of dialogue about these things with them yet?
I mean, I've not told them what's happened to me. I've not told them that, but sometimes I've tested the water with things, spoke about aliens and just things like that. And at times we've had some quite strange conversations, as in, like, you know, like that they know what I'm talking about. It's
that they do know
yeah,
what you're talking
they
about?
do, yeah, that they do.
Wonderful, good.
But I don't think they realize, they don't really know why, or do you know what I mean? They're still quite young, but there seems there's some sort of, it's like they understand.
Well, we call them young. In human terms, they're young.
Yeah.
I've spent, for the last few days, kids have been in my field for a while. I've been stumbling across some illustrations that somehow divine inspiration had just gifted to me. And there's somebody I've been working with who's dear, and her focus is on kids, and it has been for a while. These illustrations I was looking at yesterday, every one of them had pictures of kids and magicians, or kids and wizards. And here's the thing, the wizards and the magicians were not teaching the kids. No. Those young souls were teaching them.
Yeah.
That's the way we really need to see, you know, the generations come up. We see these kids a lot now, that they just seem wise beyond their years. Yeah, guys, think of who you are. First of all, you are a soul that you finally have awareness of now, riding around in this freaking biosuit in this particular incarnation that you chose to come and participate in. So when you said earlier that, you know, all these things happen and not by choice, yes and no, not within our 3D wherewithal.
Not
however,
conscious choice.
Based on, you know, the vibration I get from you, you very much picked the time to be here, and you're unfolding the purposes why, and that's great. I can tell that with a lot of the stuff that you got, some of the rabbit holes you went down, dude, you got a lot of stuff in your field that I don't know that you were ready to have planted there yet. Whether it all, when you get to really look at yourself objectively, because that's what I'm here for. I'm to kind of help hold up a mirror for you. I got a frame of reference that you can certainly go through, and we're going through the same things. I've been at this a little bit quicker, and for whatever reason, the things that were placed in my path are just as remarkable as yours. And really, I've tried to lay things out on the website. And when I did, my intent wasn't to make it a show. It was, here's the things that I concluded. Here's my freaking due diligence. And this wasn't really to prove it to anybody else other than myself. But believe me, I proved it to myself, guys. This shit's real. And I'm just a regular guy, used to be chasing all the rest of the things that we were conditioned to do, just like the rest of you. And I can tell you that we have stepped into, other capabilities. And really, whatever trigger took place, I wish I could put the finger on it. I think you have an idea when this actually, kind of came into your awareness. If I was to look back at it, maybe I would point back to, like the third day of my TM training. That day I was sitting there with my trainer, and I could finally get into that stage that regularly that people said, you can find that quiet space and then drop your intentions in there. And the day that I had that awareness of it, when I was sitting on the couch, it was like I knew my feet were on the floor, but I couldn't feel them in there anymore. And I knew my butt was on the seat, but I couldn't feel it anymore. Is this what oneness feels like? Boom. That's when it all just started to unfold. That my connection to everything else was just an extension of that. And holy cow, the things that were going to be placed in my path to help me remember who the hell I am and what I'm doing here, and watch the tribe show up along the way. Well, here you are situated. And so, I'm not surprised, that I'm starting to hear from more and more. It was last September, I was given a warning. I was told to find an easier way for people to find me because they're going to have a lot of questions and they're going to start to seek you out. There's lots of questions that people are going to have, and they all want to know where they go. There's a lot of resources out there that want to talk about secret space programs and abductions, and not that I'm minimizing that in any way, but that doesn't really, that's a story, and it deals with more, in my mind, of the malevolence that we certainly went through, but it's not where my focus is. Not at all. I know that there are wonderfully elevated energies coming our way, light energy, higher spectrum light that's coming our way and changing every sentient being on the planet, including the planet. She's already in a cosmic cycle. Her ascension is assured. We're just critters crawling along on top of her. And when our alignment matches hers, then we enjoy that environment and everything that's in it. Well, I now vibrate at a level that I see things that are already stepped into the next dimension. And you, based on all of the things that you just spent out there, dude, that was your preparation in order to get you ready to experience those things too. When you talked about the changes that you made in diet and exercise and health and all that, I went through the same thing, but none of it was intentional. I didn't, thought I needed to go on a diet, eat better. I didn't. I craved different things then. Somehow the universe put something in my field and said, here's what you really want to have. And it ended up being, fruits, vegetables. And I craved that. Less, heavy food. There was a change that happened. And then I had Ethereum cross my path. And yes, it enhanced the opening of my DNA, but man, it did something else to my physicality, because I feel like I was in my early 20s. I was a hockey player when I was younger, man. And when my joints were good, man, I was a force to be reckoned with. That's how I feel now. And I'm 69 years old. Holy shit.
I mean,
none of that
Lau,
was
when I awakened, when that moment happens, I virtually overnight turned vegan. from being a meat eater for my whole life, virtually overnight, and still am now. I haven't touched meat since. I mean, that's profound.
To me, that's your higher self stepping
that
up
is huge.
and doing what's best for you in this particular suit. And remember, we're still a soul who's now aware of this suit. But in addition to the suit I'm wearing and going through this 3D Earth experiment in duality, I now feel my ethereal body and how I'm really connected to everything else. And that is what the trigger is going on with you. All of this awareness has been placed in your path. But I can see as you've been going along, reaching out for, whatever freaking touchstone you could find. Can somebody help me understand what the hell is going on? That there were some things placed in your field that I don't know really helped you along the way. Some of the narratives that you got about who you were, although I can't speak to whether they're true or not, only you can resonate to know if that really resonates with you. And we'll get to the bottom of that. I tend to think in the immediate terms right now. And my guides keep telling me to just spend time in the present. Don't even look back. Because I was doing a lot of things that I was fed from a source that was divine. And there was documentation left here on the planet. And I stumbled over it. No, I was supposed to find it. And there were pieces of it that I was supposed to be aware of now. And they were all ascension related. But then they reminded me not to go back too far. Look, everything has changed. Every intent we place out there changes the future. So people who want to debate about, what's coming in the future, your next thought will change all of that. So I don't dwell too much on what's coming, just live in the moment. And as things have been unfolding, holy shit, what the universe has showed me to kind of get me ready for the next thing they want to show me has been extraordinary. Just the same things that you are now going through. Yeah, I got a history of that stuff over like the last 4 years now. And it's not until you get to look back and see, how all those dots connected. Now I know more about what I'm doing here, the people that have crossed my path, what I'm more interested in, and more importantly, what I vibrate with, because that's the marker. Your vibration has got to match the next environment that's coming. You're being triggered for it. All of our human bodies have been prepped for it with this elevated photon energy that we've been taking from the sun. We're ready. It's already in our gear. Once, that change in frequency and our vibration rises, everything we need physically in order for us to go to our true light form and a crystalline body instead of this carbon stuff, it's already packaged inside here. So it's just waiting to be awakened with the rest of access to your Akash, which, you just forget in every incarnation. You got to hope by the end of this one, I remember what the hell I came here to learn. We're steeped way into that. And you can tell all the energy influences now are being supercharged. Yeah, there's a reason for that, because this whole ascension process, and I don't want to focus on just the words, the ascension process, but holy cow, that is taking place whether we're paying attention or not. So those of us that are paying attention just need to be kind of a benchmark for the rest of us so we can all kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, it's only in the last, few days, this past week, that suddenly out of the blue, telos appeared. Didn't even know what it was, never heard that word, didn't know it existed, just appeared. I don't even know how. I don't remember where I saw it or whatever it was. And then very quickly, somehow, I found you. I don't even know how again. And then, I can't remember what it was. It was something on possibly YouTube or something like that. I saw a video that you were on, and I just felt compelled to and this has happened to some other people since the awakening. Certain people I've just felt compelled to contact, or to at least try and contact. So I think I went on your website, I think, and just tried. I did send you a message on LinkedIn, but I tried Instagram first. Just put a message on there. And the strange thing was, and this happens a lot, what comes out, it's almost like it's not coming from me somehow. It's like I'm typing it, but something else is coming through. I'm just like the vessel that's able to communicate that message. And sometimes you look at what you've actually written, you think that sounds crazy. What on earth have you just written there? But then,
pretty freaking profound though, isn't it?
Very profound. But then, and this doesn't happen very often. You know, you put a message like that and you read it back and you think, you sound like a lunatic. Like, this person is not even going to respond. They're going to like, what on earth is that? But then certain people, not many, you're one of them, responded. And not only did you respond, it was almost like somehow, because I even said on that, I don't know if you remember what I wrote, I actually said, have you been expecting me? But then you said in a further message that you were told somebody
there was an Aquarian that was coming into my field. Didn't know who, what, why, what purpose, but I had been advised that there was somebody coming into my field, that there was a partnership associated with this. And when I say that, it's partnership and, just the effort to, broaden awareness. Yeah, I've had tribe showing up all along the way. And it's wonderful. These people, man, they're ready. They have been open. They've had experiences, and now they're finally in an environment where they get to share those experiences and talk about them. Are they all the same? No, they're not supposed to be. Each one of us possesses a unique gift. So part of our journey is figure out what the gift is. Because, yeah, right now, our guides have been telling us to master our gift, our individual gift, because we're the only one that was designed to carry that particular one. And there's going to be a time when that is going to be of value to the collective. And when you have to step up to do your thing, you love doing it more than anything else, really good at it. And the rest of us freaking marvel when you do it, because we don't. That's your role. So, you're going to figure out what that is here, just like mine. But man, until I had some profound things cross my path, didn't come into focus.
I mean, I could be wrong with what I believe mine is, and I think I did mention it. It was literally just before COVID that I started my own business. I started a clothing brand, and it's not just a clothing brand. It's a brand kind of focused on the new generation, sort of my kids' generation, Gen Z. So it's like I created these characters because I'm a designer. I'm like a graphic designer and stuff. So I designed these characters, and I've, started this business. Look, so far it's not been financially successful. It still exists. It's now more of like a hobby, right? I put it was the main focus, but I'm working and doing another job, but the business still exists. So it's not been financially successful yet, but
you got to wonder whether that platform was established for other purposes.
I believe so. So, as I told you in one of my meditations, and yourself, these sort of things come through. You don't really know where it's come from or what it is. But one of the things that came through was this word unified, and what what I deciphered the message was that I needed to create a new clothing range for the brand called Unified. And I didn't know why, I didn't really know what it was going to look like or anything. I just had this thought through a transcendental meditation. So I almost, when I came out of the meditation, I just got some paper and started scribbling some ideas, came up with a logo. And the strange thing is, there's been loads of delays in getting this new a new website which will have all this new clothing and this unified range. For some reason, there's been all these delays, and it's not been able to happen yet. But it feels like it's gonna happen this year at some point. I feel like that's gonna happen. I don't even know why I feel that, but it feels like that's going to happen this year. And it feels like it's going to happen at exactly the right time. I don't know. It's crazy, really. I don't know why. But I feel, for whatever reason, my purpose or the thing I've got to do is associated with this brand, and particularly Unified. And it was strange, as I said, that PDF, that sort of explaining ascension and stuff like that. Literally, page one, the very, very first thing was that image talking about the age of Aquarius, and it said something about, I can't remember exactly, about it. Basically, it's where we will become unified. And it was, sometimes it's too much. Sometimes
do you
it's
see
like,
those as 2x4s up your head ethereally?
and then not just that, but I am an Aquarius, which I know we're moving into the age of Aquarius and the golden age, as they call it, and stuff like that. So to have had the awakening, and then to realize I am an Aquarius as well. Coincidence? We
there
know
aren't any.
No, we know they don't exist. So yeah, like I say, sometimes it's just so profound. It's just crazy, really.
You asked me about rabbit holes and you were getting tired of going down them. And here's my response, pal. The next rabbit hole you go down, like probably the other ones you've already been down, there's 3 more after that. But every one was designed to give you a little bit more piece of wisdom. Not, you've got experiences. They've all contributed to knowledge that you tucked away for a long time. God knows, and it'll be fun to find out, where your interest lies in whether you spend time in civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria. I tend to think Lemuria is on your radar because you were drawn to Telos in the same way I was. I can tell you that in comparison, my experience, I had a craving to understand Atlantis for a long time. And that was kind of what I was chasing to get greater clarity on. And you can't really hear and understand Atlantis without hearing about the Lemurians and what role they played. So I had all that kind of in my field when I was first pointed to go to Mount Shasta. And again, we think that wasn't a choice. Well, yes, in whatever soul contract I had created, part of my lessons, yes, at this point, I was going to cross somebody's path and I was going there. So let's just say that that's our common denominator. And when I got there, I can tell you what I knew about Telos before that mountain opened up. I had seen it on the cover of a book earlier that week. That was it. I had gone there hoping on my spiritual journey just like I'd heard others had done, when you get off the beaten track, which I love to do, all alone on nature, to just find an ascended master, and here I am. I'm ready for downloads. Make me your vessel. If I can really connect with spirit, here I am. That's what I was hoping for. Not that the wall was going to open up and I was going to be invited to see a dimensional city that people still wonder about. Yeah, that was a physical experience. But we have physical experiences in this realm, of course, and in the next realm, and fourth and fifth dimensions, human beings are in physical form. Yeah. I vibrated at the right spot. And the message I keep getting sent back is I was the first one, not the only one. People just have to really gain their awareness, open up their minds to the fact that they can experience these things, and it will happen. Every resource that whatever higher aspect of ourself, or angels, if you want to see it that way, waiting to benevolently assist us. They're just waiting for us to ask and to really open ourselves up to things that you have not experienced yet and that are incomprehensible to you. Because once you do that, they're going to show you one extraordinary thing, only to be followed with more. There is an entire archive of all the information you hold inside of you that you're about to have access to, again, to assist in whatever way you're meant to, but the collective benefits. And humanity is getting some significant uploads now. I was carrying a code, apparently, that when it got to be the right time was going to be released. I thought it was something that I would train others to do. I went through a ceremony and had something placed within me. And when the time came, whatever the seed was going to blossom, and it was going to benefit humanity. Well, apparently the conditions were met. I was informed that between the Christmas and New Year's holidays, that whatever that was released. I felt an energetic change at the first of the year, as did everyone else I've spoken to, aside from exploring this conversation. But we've been carrying manipulated DNA around us for a while, and we can't deny that those lousy things that have happened. I don't focus my attention on it because I don't want to feed that energy. But at the same time, there has now been a mechanism for our DNA to be restored. So in this process, which no one has to sit in front of Lowell or hear me say this again, it's just been done, that the damaged DNA has been removed and restored to our original human design. And
is that been fully done?
Yes. And our systems are being upgraded. The downloads that we're receiving now are to assist us in holding greater light and higher frequencies, because this new photon energy coming our way, we have, as human, as races, we've lived on half of that coming our way. There's full spectrum lighting coming our way, which of course the universe wants us to benefit from. The planet's going to benefit from it. So the physicalities we're going to carry around, that's being stored in our DNA too. So when the day comes and that unlocks, we just kind of slip into where we're always going to be. I'm real curious about the physical changes. That's where I've been focusing most of my attention on, because when people have questions about it, they got to have it in terms that they can understand as a human being. So if I can explain that in the way that it felt with me, yeah, now I can help others when they have the same diagnosis. If you can find yourself to me and be willing to have these conversations, because who do we get to talk to about this? Even though I may be a little further advanced on my journey, I still have the same need to have touchstones that can help me understand what this is too.
Yeah, I mean, it's, being completely honest, it's been a very lonely experience so far. I mean, who on earth do you talk to about this? Yeah. Without literally being sent to a mental institute
Yeah, people keep telling me I'm brave and I've been courageous, but I don't know any other way to do it. And frankly, I don't have any fear left about anything. Well, I clearly understand reincarnation and what our lives are like here, and that when we get to the end of it, that's not all there is, and it's not a heaven and earth scenario. It's none of that at all. Holy cow, my soul's immortal, and I know what I'm going on to do next, and I got a glimpse of what it's going to be like when we get there. That's
Yeah,
what
I mean,
I'm carrying back, and so
I
now I'm
I
drawing tribe around me.
I think certain people, and I think you are one of those people, who certain people are here to help others. So whether that is putting information out there, doing a podcast, having a website, all these sorts of things. The PDF that you've got on the website is great. And to be honest, a lot of what I've read so far, I actually knew, and because I've consumed that much content in this past 9 months, it was almost like I was just compelled. I couldn't stop, consuming this information. So you touched on, say, Atlantis, Egypt, all that sort of stuff. I've just gone head first into Egypt, the pyramids, Thoth, Atlantis, and some of the things that I've actually been sort of guided to do were to. There was a lady that I met online, and she, well, look, whether it was true or not, I don't know. But all I can tell you is she accessed my Akashic records, sent me some information from them, and we spoke on the phone. And yeah, one of the things that it said in there, yeah, so it said that I was a 12th dimensional angelic warrior from Andromeda. Who, God knows if that's true or not. I don't know. This woman could have
Well,
been.
let me give you a little perspective. I can't say whether that may or may not be true.
I don't know
However,
either.
from what I understand beyond the sixth dimension, your spiritual growth continues to grow through each one of the dimensions. And you become much more group and one with all oriented in your thinking. The trouble I have with that statement is that there's no vibration where warrior fits into that perspective whatsoever. So I'll leave that there. But at the same time, as much as I had been given some advices about, future versions of myself, and I resonated with this whole thing in the beginning, that I came from a future version of myself from the Pleiades. It's kind of where all this started for me. And then, you kind of backtrack through, what you can find. I come back to the idea we need to focus on the moment. We're negotiating ourselves from here to the next dimension, and we're aware of it. Let's focus on that. We'll worry about 12th dimensional beings when that time comes. But right now, your attention's being drawn away from the things that I think you need to focus on, just so you know who you are. Not this idea of, who somebody else is explaining who we are. Here's where your resonance and your discernment kicks in. All of that study you did was in the hunt for finding out what is really going to resonate with me. And you had to sift through a lot of crap, just like I did. Some stuff was good for me in the beginning and it got me started. Yeah. But after a while, okay, I got this part. I could see where it helped build foundations on which my future learning was going to help understand it all, because I'm a Capricorn and I need things layered up to solidly make sense. But once they do, believe me when I tell you guys, the shit's real. I've come to those conclusions, and all of that documentation on the website, again, maybe it'll help somebody else. That's what the intent was.
Oh yeah.
But here's my proof.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about it was, everything that I've read, I'm like, yep, Yes, yes, I know that's true. Yes. And like I say, because I've consumed so much content and been led to all this different stuff, not really knowing why, all the time it was like, why am I compelled to subscribe to Gaia, the online platform, and just consume all this stuff about Egypt, the pyramids, Atlantis, all this stuff, and not really knowing why. It was almost like I had to consume it. I had to absorb it all. Um, so, I mean, another thing that I've had done, I think I mentioned it, again, sort of led to this lady on YouTube. She has a channel, and she sort of creates people's galactic natal chart. So you give her sort of your name, your date of birth, where you were born, time of birth, all these sorts of things. And with that information, she generates like basically where you've been in the universe, in the galaxies and planets and whatever. So she did a chart for me. I had no idea what it was going to say, what it was going to show, anything. And she did a video for me to kind of show it to me and explain things to me about what it showed. And I mean, I'd never seen one before, didn't know sort of what it was all about. And and she actually said, I mean, this is a woman who's been doing this for 20 plus years. She said she'd never seen a chart so comprehensive. Like,
Did it resonate with you?
I mean, it's when you say that word, did it resonate? The problem is, I don't just, it's the same as when you get the downloads. Do you know it's true? This is the thing. This is my problem, really. These things come through, these messages come through and stuff. How do I know they're true? How do I know it's the right thing? That's the problem I have. So when, like I said, this woman with the Akashic records, I always try to think kind of logically, sort of don't judge, sort of look at it, with a discerning eye and think, look, is this person legit? Are they just like a charlatan? Is she just making it up? Do you know what I mean? I always sort of
Mm-hmm.
try and look at it like that, because I don't want to just, happily accept anything that anyone tells me. So again, with this galactic natal chart, I mean, I'd literally, according to this information, I mean, I've been everywhere. I've been on basically every planet, every star in the universe, And this, like I say, this woman, she's been doing this for like 20 odd years, and even she was like, I don't think I've seen as comprehensive a chart ever. She even she couldn't go into everything in depth, because she said the video to be like hours long.
Too vast. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like everywhere. And the problem is, like, as I say, people have told me things. People have said, this is what you are, or this is where you've been, but I still don't seem to have the memory of it. That's the problem.
Well, all of those things are wonderful in that they're just triggering your hunger to get to the bottom of it. And when I say resonate, you just feel what's right. You've already trained yourself to divorce your head and what your ego wants to interpret. I can put that in check, which is why the other things that you brought up about what people have said about you is where, they found a wall. Can't say yet that they're true or not true, but here's a wall and I need to get over it. So, here we'll pick the rabbit hole we need to go down to get to the bottom of this. But nothing is put in your field, accidentally. The woman who read you for that galactic natal chart, that wasn't an accident either.
No.
That information came to you for a purpose, and just accept it for what it is. Sometimes you got to sit with it. That was the hardest lesson for me, especially being trained in a world where immediacy in responses is what we've all grown to expect. And when I don't get the answer really quick, my patience, even as a Capricorn, can be exhausted. And I just want to know the next thing. If I'm really here to be of service, then freaking show me and let me get going. Well, there's a rhythm to the flow of everything. And it's only when you get to look back at some of the pieces that got together. Yeah, all that shit had to happen first in order to get here. And now we understand why. The tribe that's showing up has been, and that's only really been the last couple months, where the dust seems to be settled enough that you can find grounding in that. And you found people you can have these conversations with. And each one of them has reached a level of comfort with, they didn't come here to learn what the rest of us know. It wasn't about that at all. Man, you all have an unusual gift, and we're trying to figure out what it is because your guides are telling you it's time to master it. That's what we're trying to help you do.
I mean,
I know what mine is.
As an example, Lala, I don't know if this has happened to you, but I find it very difficult being around unawakened people, as an example. That's the only way I can describe it. I feel like I'm on a completely different frequency to people, almost like I am an alien, So whether that's at home, at work, family, not with my kids, which is interesting. When me and my kids are together, it's like we're on the same frequency.
Vibration. Perfect. That's the marker these days.
Other people, it's like I'm an alien.
I was reminded that I was in an interview a couple of weeks back with Lauren Gailey, and she had asked that question. She said, how do you deal with that? Do you find that people are falling away, or do you lose contact?
Oh yeah, people
honestly,
are falling away. Friends,
it's organic, isn't
it?
Good
friend, like friends that I thought I'd have for life. Best friends falling away.
Where you want your attention to go isn't where they don't have a comprehension of that. And there's a push now for us. My guide said something a few months ago, and I love it. So I'll continue to say that, it's time for us to tend to our own flame, ours. There's light coming our way, and we're being gifted with the ability to even manipulate it more. The changes that people are getting to hold greater light and all that, everyone will have that ability, but there's gifts like you and I carry that are advanced in some way that really hasn't been totally revealed to us yet, but we can both feel we're on the path. And so all we're doing is just trying to find the others that can assist us and kind of help sort it out. But the tribe is assembling. You won't feel lonely much anymore. There are about 300 of us in a private Facebook group that, I kind of let in a little bit at a time. I really wanted to make sure their vibration was right, because in the same way, when I learned that when I meditate in a room with other people, it only takes one vibration to kind of drop it. And I didn't want this group to be distracted by white noise and to really focus on the messages that are coming this way. Every one of them is a freaking light worker, you can tell, but they're all at different stages of advancement. And I kind of look at them, they kind of look at me as the senior guy. Yes, and I've had experiences the rest of them haven't. But let me tell you, that's really humbling, because I've been at this for not much longer. And there have certainly been people that have been in the spiritual realm and seeking out their metaphysicality for, decades. Some of them that didn't fall to, the marketing and the hype of all of it. And, they just got the message molded and all that. You saw where a lot of them fell off and did that. And was more interested in selling books and getting likes. And that's not my gig. I really don't care. This isn't, uh, if I don't appeal to the masses, I could care less. I know what this is about to do. And there are people here that need to understand what that is too. And there are those seeking answers. I'm here to help. That's what I'm here to do. And so we're all going to find out who we are in the process, because that's part of it.
A couple of things I wanted to ask you. One thing I wanted to just tell you quickly is the group, the Facebook group that you sent me the request to join. I was the 333rd member.
I saw that. In fact, I took a screenshot of it because I knew that was the day you were going to come on. That was no accident. I love synchronicities, and man, they're just coming right and left.
So that's weird, isn't it? But one thing, I don't know if I've told you this. So I keep seeing 144 all the time. Now, I don't know if you know what that is or what that means. Do you know what that means?
I have access to angel numbers, which I find very informative, and they're very authentic. I'll send you the one for 144 when we're finished today.
Well, do you know what the 144,000 are?
Yeah, I do. And honestly, until recently, I really didn't pay too much attention to it. If I sit with it and I think about that, I think that there's probably something to that. That in the first wave of those of us that now we realize we reincarnated back here purposefully. Oh yeah, we knew it was coming. And so we inserted ourselves hoping that we were going to remember by the time this was over who we were and what gifts and what we came here to do. But we both, among others, came here because we knew Earth's shift was imminent. We were going to be here for that freaking cosmically historic event. And we were going to play some important role in helping others navigate their way through it. Because
again, it's no coincidence. I mean, what a coincidence that would be, that would just not only hear but have awakened just at the right time.
Yeah.
It's there's a higher design, isn't there?
It's divine design for sure. There's something else that you said earlier that I wanted to come back and reflect on. I'll think of it in a moment.
But the fact, honestly, I'm literally seeing 144 all the time. So on clocks.
That's what I was going to say.
When I'm at work, when I'm at home, when I look at my phone, just at that exact moment, it's like 1440.
Okay, well, now I got to know. So stand by. Let's see if I can find. Yeah. It's interesting. I sat with a friend of mine, Dave Wallace, that I met in Shasta, and you could tell Dave and I, when we first met this season, we've known each other longer than this, and we were having a conversation about some of his, he said, interesting connections to ultra terrestrials. And recently, was it February 1st? He had his last one. Kim Jim had informed them of the number of people, everyone's talking about contact with, alien species. Well, we finally got a hard and fast number that his contact from elsewhere had informed him that there have been 14 million people on the planet that have had contact with some type of extraterrestrial being. Okay, angel number 144 is a blend of the vibrations and attributes of the number 1 and the number 4 appearing twice, giving emphasis and extra influence to its energies. Number 1 promotes changes, new beginnings, and ventures. ambition and tenacity, self-leadership and assertiveness, uniqueness and individuality, ambition and willpower. Number 1 also tells us that we create our own realities with our beliefs, thoughts, and actions. The number 4 brings its energies, effort, and will, building solid foundations, working diligently towards achieving goals, practicality and determination, honesty and integrity. Number 4 also tells us of achieving success and reaping the rewards for work well done. Angel number 144 brings a message from your angels that you are to look to new ways to go about getting your work done more efficiently. Listen to your intuition as your angels are ushering positive energies towards and around you. Angel number 144 is a message to keep your thoughts positive and optimistic as you undertake an important new role or venture. Your positive energies, intentions, and actions will manifest your expected results. Trust your angels to deliver all that you'll need. Angel number 144 encourages you to keep striving ahead and don't take no for an answer. Expect miraculous answers and solutions to appear as you need them.
I mean, all I can tell you is when I've been seeing 144, the feeling that I've got from it, the intuition I've got from it is that it's telling me about 144,000 in that I am one of them, or there's some sort of connection between me and those beings. That's the only way I can really describe it. Because during this process, these last 9 months, I've been led to a lot of, and I'm not a religious person at all, but I've been led to a lot of things to do with Christ, Jesus, 144,000, Saint Stephen, all these things. I had absolutely knew nothing about. Never been to church, never read a Bible, have absolutely no religious connotations at all in this lifetime. But I was led to all this information, which has been very odd, if I'm being honest, because just like being a meat eater for 42 years and then virtually overnight turn into a vegan, bearing in mind, no one, not even anyone I know, no one in my family, friends, anybody is vegan. I'm the only one. We go out for a meal, I'm the only one. It's teaching me, obviously it's the right thing to do. That's the instinct, the intuition, not to eat animals. That's the good, a right thing to do. But it's also sort of teaching me the feeling of being almost ostracized, if that's the right word. It's like you've got to get used to being that odd one out for some reason. Yeah. You know, you're not a sheep, you're not part of the masses. You've got to get comfortable being that one who's different for whatever reason. And as I say, I've not eaten meat at all since that moment. And as I say, it was almost overnight. It was like meat eater, you know, I'd go for a meal and I'd have like a plate of meat before, and then now absolutely nothing at all.
I totally relate
feel better
to all
for
of
it
that
as well. I feel better for it as well.
I don't know. I don't attribute that to any conscious thought I gave to. Maybe I shouldn't eat as much meat as I do. I just started craving different things, and that was divinely inspired.
Yeah, I mean, there's been, you know, in terms of also things that I enjoy, hobbies, interests, a lot of that has changed. A lot of that has changed. I think for the better since, but almost like things I used to absolutely love, watching football or whatever it is, have no, it's like I see it from a different perspective now. It has absolutely no resonance with me now. I will literally happily spend hours consuming content about Egypt. And again, before all this happened, was not interested in. It's weird. It's like all these things, it's like I've been the opposite of them. So meat eater, into sort of sports and things like UFC, kind of combat sports, people getting hurt and beaten and blood and stuff. Horror movies, really loved horror movies. Don't watch them now. So it's almost like for some reason I was the opposite, and then since the awakening, it's completely flipped on its head. It's like I never used to think of an animal as being sentient or conscious in any way. It was just meat. It was like, it's what we do. We eat meat, don't we? I never used to think about the fact that that was a conscious being that was being killed, and they're normally killed quite horrendously, aren't they? Painful, they're in fear. Now I see it in a completely different way. They are just like us. They're conscious, they're aware, not obviously at the same level, but they are conscious beings basically. So it's been a very, very profound change in
I find that especially the tribe that's showing up now, one of the qualities that seems to be a hallmark of all of them is empathy. Your empathic nature kicks into high gear, and you just know you're connected to everything else. Why in the world would I want anything to harm that individual when I know that part of me is in them and part of them is already in me? We share that. We just have to get outside of these. We're not done here entirely. Well, yeah, humanity's done learning 3D lessons, but we're not done learning the ones that we picked for this incarnation. So there's still some duality that we're going to experience along the way. I tend to just see it as white noise and push it off to the sides and continue to focus on, the extraordinary things that are coming our way, because it's just a matter of time before it kicks in. And when new tribes show up and we can compare notes and figure out, what's next, there's a timeline associated with all of this. And I've said it out loud, so I'll say it out loud now. And if I have to defend my answer, I will. But something resonates like hell with me that this is all going to be resolved by 2025. Every time over the last several months, when my guides have, kind of directed me on what direction we're going in, what preparations are taking place, I got 2 years left to get this done.
You believe it will be by 2025?
I do.
That's basically what's been coming through to you.
Yeah, that resonates with me.
It to me, it just I don't know when, but it just feel like it's coming to it's building, isn't it, to a conclusion. That's how it feels.
Yeah, if you want physical evidence and you understand where the electromagnetic and proton energy that influences comes from, it comes from the sun, and it gets affected by the central sun and what's coming our way in terms of light and photon energy. And we're in a cosmic cycle, and the earth, it's her turn to move into her next little incarnation. So when we see this increase in solar flares and solar storms that have been pummeling us, I've been watching this over the last 2 years, not surprised by how it's just peaked now. Between that and the earthquakes that we've been suffering, and volcanoes, and earthquakes in California in areas that they haven't been for a long time. And look at what happened in Turkey. if you're paying attention, these are signs or just evidence of what's coming next.
I don't know why I've disappeared.
I can still hear you, but your video is gone.
I don't know. I don't know why nothing's changed at all, but I'm still here anyway. I don't know why it's
Perfect.
gone.
That's all right. We'll continue.
I'm still here. Yeah, I mean, there's so much I could speak for days. There's so many questions that we've not even scratched the surface, really.
Well, and we will, I always like to sit with somebody first to get, I need like a baseline so that I can get a beat on your vibration. And some of it I can get through exchanges like we were having earlier. But the trouble is, since all this has happened, Steve, I'm hearing from a lot of people. And to try and figure out a way to economically use my time so that I can answer all of them, I have to kind of pick and choose the ones I need to pay attention to for a while, one-on-one, until, if we can do these in podcasts and a lot of that, the work's getting done there. And that's great because it's actually the other tribe members that are stepping up. But there are instances like you and I that, no, this is going to require some one-on-one time so that we can lend each other some grounding, and then maybe we'll be able to see the trees through the forest. And I know with me, it just took a while. So it's my turn to help you.
Yeah, and you don't really know why, do you?
No, I don't, but I don't question it anymore. I choose where my attention goes. It's my most valuable commodity. I get that. And so when I choose to place it with someone or an instance, that's meaningful to me. It's where I control my power. But there are things that my inner being compels me to pay attention to, and I don't discount that. So when you cross my path, and it happened like in the last 2 days, like a lightning bolt, that was supposed to get both of our attention. So whatever time I need to invest into this, we need to explore, because the clock is ticking and we need to get to the bottom of it fast.
Yeah, I mean, like you said before, there's no coincidences, is there? And the fact that somehow I found you, sent you a message, felt compelled to do that, didn't really know why. Even the message that I wrote felt like it almost wasn't me. I was typing it physically, but what was actually coming through was almost like it wasn't from me personally.
Yeah, I'm going to help you come into terms with what that is. And it took me a while to learn that. I had been evaluated, shall we say, to be a vessel to hold other consciousness. And that's a story for another time, but I'm just to give you a frame of reference on what you're going through. I had to understand what that meant to, first of all, reach my higher self, my higher aspect. And once I came to terms with that, and I understood what I was getting from there, because those profound thoughts I was getting, I knew came from somewhere else. So I started to really be able to communicate with my higher self. There are other aspects that you can connect to and wish to connect with you. And in that way, they are allowed to communicate when you allow them into your field to do such a thing. And these aspects will, send you other messages. What you're describing tells me that's exactly what's happening with you. And you're just trying to figure out, well, what the heck is this? So understand that there's a part of you that's bringing things away from your Akash. Wonderful. You're supposed to have it. But you're also allowing some space for other aspects, higher aspects, to kind of speak through you. Do you see that?
Yeah. I mean, do you still meditate?
Yes, every day.
Every day. You see, this is the strange thing. Like, since it happened to me, I've basically, I mean, I literally haven't done a meditation, done any breath work, exercise, anything like that. All the practices that I was doing, I haven't done. So it's almost, it feels somehow intuitively that I don't, for somehow reason, need to do them now.
Well,
The-
let me observe, and I want to offer you that it just becomes part of who you are. Now, when
yeah,
I
yeah,
say I meditate every day, that's because the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, and that was just a habit that when I was starting TM, it was the best time for me to get out. So as soon as I wake up, 20 minutes, I meditate right away. It sets the tone for my day.
that's what
It's
I
who
was
I
doing. Yeah,
am. Yeah. So, I have other opportunities during the day that I wander off into other realms. But that's because that's who I am now. And I can touch into that stuff whenever I want. It's no longer I need to sit and get my attention right so I can communicate at that level. No. Now you know what that feels like. You're just connected all the time, whether you want to focus your attention and energy on it. That's when you decide where you're going to, what timelines you're going to wander down, what you're going to find.
I mean, I think I mentioned this before, but it happened with you. It's happened. I said I met this woman who lives in California. Strangely enough, I don't actually know how far she lives away from you. It'd be interesting to find that out. But
Well, send me her information because I'm curious. Is this the same woman that did your galactic chart?
no, no. So I, again, very sort of strange. Just connected with her online. Um, no real reason why, it just sort of happened. And then since we met online, we've had, I mean, there was a period where we would speak on the phone daily for hours. We still communicate daily, but we haven't spoken on the phone for a while now, but we're still in regular contact. And when we have spoken, particularly in that period where we were speaking every day, we both, it's not just like one of us felt this, both of us felt this kind of really quite profound connection. Um, Almost like we knew each other before.
It's a kinesis, isn't it?
And there's lots of like synchronicities, like we'd be on the phone and we just have to, you just have to look at your phone and it'd be like an angel number. And it'd happen every time. Every time you would look at the phone. So say you were on the phone for 2 hours, at any time during that 2 hour period, say I would look at my phone, every time it would be an angel number. And it just kept happening all the time. It would happen with her. There's been this so much. It's almost like we thought it's possible we could be twin flames. We don't know that for sure. But there's some sort of very strong connection there. There's also a couple of other people I've met online. And again, there's almost this sort of sense somehow that we know each other, we have known each other before. Very difficult to kind of explain really in words, but
Their soul family. That's the best way it can be articulated for people that can understand the concept.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say about that really, but I mean, I'll definitely, I've told her that we were speaking today and she was excited to hear how it went and stuff like that. But I will, I'll sort of tell her, I'll say, look, do you want me to pass her information on to you and stuff? and see what she said. She probably will be happy with that.
Okay.
But
Well, and then when you decide, if we get to the end of this, and you want to, I want to upload this to YouTube, so and I'll do that unlisted to begin with, so you can look at it and I can look at it. But if you wish to make that available for others to see and perhaps benefit from, I'll make it public and then I'll push it. I, think that there's something in this for everybody always, and but that's your decision, solely yours.
Yeah, I actually think you've done the right thing doing it as a private group. I think the problem is when you make things public, it can almost attract sort of negative, I'm sure you know that these things exist, but negative, dark entities, these sorts of things. When it's private, it's almost like it's really genuine. Obviously, you have that control as well to decide to at least invite that person in. If it's public, anyone can sort of join and get involved. So I think you've done the right thing, it being private, I'm being honest.
Well, that's what we do in our Facebook group. But the things that I put out there in podcasts and the interviews I've done with Tribe that are on my YouTube channel, those are out there for public scrutiny. So let me paint a picture for you. And you're under no obligation to share any of this. You're a sovereign being, and I respect that, first of all. However, you are being given awareness of some role that you play that is of some significant importance. And maybe, just like my guides told me a few days ago, I don't get to play small anymore. Because in the scheme of things, Steve, I'd just as soon shut up and never talk about this again and just ride the wave and know what I know. That wasn't the choice I made. I offered to stay here and assist others. And I'm happy to do that. And believe me, there's juice in every time I see somebody get it. When they get to the next level of their awareness, man, that's what I live to serve these days. It's awesome. Well, I can see you on the screen again.
Oh, I have a pen.
Anyhow, so I just want you to consider that maybe it's time for you to be a little more public too. And I can't make that decision for you, and I'm not really trying to influence you one way or the other. But if you believe that there's some content in here that others should hear, and that's when it came to me when you mentioned the woman you were talking to and how, you're going to have an interaction with her, maybe, she wants to hear this and what the exchange actually was. Totally your decision, though. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know why I've had this kind of intuition really, but for some reason, I believe I'm personally not supposed to be public. Almost like I don't know why, almost like I'm supposed to be protected somehow. I don't know why.
Then pay attention to that gut instinct.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, all these things, you led to this content, you've had these intuitions and whatever. Like you said, there's a reason for that. If you genuinely believe that it's your higher self that's coming through when you get these messages and downloads and stuff like that, you have to believe that it is for the greater good and for your best interest, isn't it?
Yes.
You can't think any other way. So yeah, some of the things that have come through to me, I think when you said, I was on one of the messages yesterday, I think, I can't remember what you said. Oh, you said an Aquarius was going to come into your life. Then obviously I am. And then you said something like, maybe that's you. Maybe you're that person who's supposed to come in, who you have the intuition. And then as soon as I read that, when you said maybe it's you, the first thing that came into my mind was, and I sent it to you. I put, "I am the one." I think I said, or something like that. I don't know what that means. I don't
It's
know what
going to
that means.
reveal itself to you. I had some nuggets like that where I'd heard things like that in the past. It wasn't until I went back and reflected on later that I understood what that was. So just remember that phrase. Well, now we have it recorded on video, so we can go back and, oh, remember the day you said that. Here is now what we understand.
Yeah, I mean, again, when I said that, it made me think of, I'm sure you've probably seen it, the Matrix movie, which is, in its the most simplest terms, about the main character, Neo, Keanu Reeves, basically having an awakening to the fact that he is the one. So I don't know, that came to mind.
Hang on to it. There's a mastery you possess. We're getting to the bottom of it. It won't be like anybody else's mastery, but it comes with gifts and powers. You'll know what to do with it because I can already tell your heart's in the right spot. You gave every illustration of every empathic inclination you have. So I know what your intent is. And that's why you're being given these gifts. That's why all this preparation is being made so that when this is put back in your hands, you're going to know what to do with it. And if you're any kind of light worker like I am, you already know what we're going to do with it. We transmute negative energy into light. It's all that's simple. That's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that I've been sort of led to regarding sort of the darkness, the negative elements and stuff like that, it's a strange one, because with any of these things, I don't know 100% if it's true. I don't know how you can know anything is 100%, but there's like a feeling, like an intuition that it is true, even though you can't maybe see it physically. It's not like you can see these beings or whatever and you go, yes, they're controlling this reality and stuff like that. You think that you're crazy, basically. If you told anybody, you'd be sent to an institution, wouldn't you? So, but there's a lot of material out there. There's a lot of people backing it up with experiences and knowledge and stuff like that. So that feels like that is one of the reasons we are here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But people have no idea that any of that exists, do they?
Mm-mm. No, but look at a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, neither did you or I.
No.
So whatever came my way to kind of snap me back and remind me of the things that are new, I continue to press this point. We're not learning anything new. We've had all this knowledge stored away in us for a while. We're just it's being activated so we have access to it again.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on like rabbit holes and stuff. Some of them have been pretty crazy. That's one of them, isn't it? Just
yes.
that, just all that element of it. That's pretty crazy in itself. But there's been many others, really. But the thing is, as I say, when you even just having this conversation now, like say with this woman in California as an example, just having someone you can talk to about stuff like this, they know you're not insane. They understand, they know it's true, they can relate, they understand, you're on the same level. it's invaluable, you know, because
Yes.
you do feel very isolated. You kind of think like, why is this happening to me? I didn't choose it. I wasn't, you know, I think, as I say, I was watching that podcast that you did, and you were saying you had sort of a good job, you know, a good career, earning good money, traveling, having a good life, and you didn't ask for this. You know, your life basically turned upside down, and you had no real. You just felt you compelled that you had to do it. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's kind of what's happened with me. When that moment happened, it just changed absolutely everything. And from how I was living, what I'm eating, what I enjoy doing, interests, hobbies, friends, lost lots of friends, as in by choice. Like I don't communicate with them anymore. I feel like I can't. I feel like, you know, I'm sort of here and they're sort of like right down here. Not in
Yeah.
any kind of with an ego view of that. It's just
Right.
almost like I can't I can't relate in any way. I feel like I can't even have a conversation with those
It's
people.
vibratory, really. When you get in touch with your ethereal body and you feel things that way, you now sense the differences in the densities that you experience and that your friends experience. And they're so mired in the things we've all been conditioned by. We were too. The difference is we get a perspective, we can look back at that now. Well, oh yeah, it's duality, but yet there's actually better things than that, where they don't get to see that perspective. They're so busy living the matrix that they don't step back to observe it. And here's where whatever wake up call came for you and I that told us to step back, observe your lives so you can start to see it unfold. Until that happened, we'd have been in the same spot that they're in.
I mean, as an example, I did used to drink alcohol prior to the awakening. I've touched it maybe a couple of times since I've had the awakening, but um, somehow like a switch was flicked, like an imaginary switch was flicked, and it's like that's poison. Why are you even going anywhere near that? So a whole new perspective on that and that kind of culture, and because a lot of the friends that you know I used to hang around with, that was a big part of the social life type thing. So we would meet, or we would drink alcohol, we'd go to a club, and it was great. It was great then, but since the awakening, it's like, dude, why are you putting that poison in your body? You know, it's really really bad. It's gonna kill you probably eventually. So just a huge shift in uh, perception, and you know, seeing things almost from a zoomed out view rather than um, I mean, you mentioned the word matrix. I mean, some of the things that I've had downloaded have been just insane regarding what this reality is, how it works, and it's just so complex even. But you know, all of that has come to me, not all in one go obviously, but over a period of time. And I don't know if it's true. I don't know. It could all be true. Some of it could be true. I don't know. But yeah, like they say, the Matrix movie is more of a documentary rather than just a film. Um, and it's hard to even still, with this kind of perception, still realize, is that even possible for it to work like that? But I guess it can be.
It's a possibility. It's a probability. Yeah, it's somebody put that intent out there, and just like any others, if you feed it attention and the collective feeds it enough attention, it's brought into your reality. That's where it begins. Um, you're in a wonderful place to now be able to articulate on the differences between those. Where before we had no awareness of any of this, so we really couldn't point to any of the contrasts. Couldn't tell, what it was like if I believed this and if I didn't. But now you're in a place where, yeah, you're presented with those opportunities to make those decisions on what things resonate with you and what they don't. And now you've got a frame of reference from your entire
Yeah.
life, and the things that I've always done, they no longer feel good.
Yeah, I'm still on the phone. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Well, we'll finish because we're almost an hour and a half into this anyway. But we need to pick up on this because this is a seed that's been dropped here, and you and I are supposed to figure out how it blossoms.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea why, but as I say, 2 or 3 days ago, I didn't even know what telos was. I didn't know about that mountain. I didn't know about any of that. I didn't know it existed, inner earth. I didn't know nothing about it. And then it sort of has just come in, and I don't really know why, but now I feel like, if I'm being completely honest, I feel like I have to go there. I don't even know why.
Good. It's I really enjoy hearing more people stop when we have been advised and listen to any of this disclosure effort. Everyone's pointing to these lights in the sky and UFOs and alien beings, and that's their frame of reference. Very few have been brought around to the beings that have been here a lot longer than we have. They're just in a different dimension waiting for us to kind of get our shit together so that we can communicate with them too. They have many things to share with us, but they're here and they have been. They're not floating around the sky. They're not coming from some other planet. No. These are aspects of yourself that have been here for a while, and they're all trying to get our attention. So it's wonderful when I hear another ally show up and, triggered by in almost the same way. Your access and your exposure to Telos wasn't a whole lot different than mine.
Yeah, so
There
did
are
you
lots
think?
of books I've read since, and I got to meet one of the authors, Diane Robbins, about it, and we
Oh,
shared
you've
stories.
met Diana.
She's lovely. She's getting older and her health isn't good, but she's been quite gracious with her time with me.
I mean, I think just prior to finding you, I found her. That's where I think I actually found the even the word, the Talos. So yeah, I don't know why. I'm sure it will be disclosed, but I feel like I have to go there. And this is 2 3 days ago. I didn't even know it existed. And it starts to make you think that all this stuff about UFOs and these craft that, from like the 50s and Roswell and all that stuff, you start to think anything you see in the sky or that is kind of fed to you through the news and things like Roswell and aliens and stuff and things coming from outer space, you start thinking, is all that actually real? Is that manufactured? And it's actually, we're looking in the wrong place. It's not up, it's down. That's where the actual real beings are. But as you say, they're in a different vibration, different dimension. We can't see them, and they can't make themselves known until you're at that same frequency. So
That's it.
it
But
does
here
make
we
sense.
are. There are those of us that can do that now, and our job is to help the rest of you figure out how you can do it too, because my physicality is no different than anybody else's, just your awareness of it.
Just before we go, just if I wanted to, if it was even possible, if I wanted to communicate with, if I had that intention that, a benevolent being from Telos, if I wanted that intention, if I genuinely wanted to have that contact, how is that? Is it possible to do that? And how could I do it?
Just put that in whatever, however you can lay your intent out, whether that's just in words because it's who you are now, or whether that's a meditative effort that you put out there. Put it in your intent and it'll be picked up in your field if that's really what you want. And I don't know that we characterize it so much as what you want, is more what you're being led to open yourself up to it. Say, I'm ready for this kind of access, and it'll happen. I have been spending more of my attention in when I've been bilocating, it's been inner earth. And people keep asking me, well, do you ever want to go back to Telos? Yes, I want to go back to Telos, but it hasn't been where I've been chosen to see next. And so these illustrations have been coming out about these other places I've been seeing, and really it's in an attempt to help the rest of you understand what we're about to step into. I'll be returning to Telos indeed. And anybody can if their vibration matches. The last thing that the real last communications I had with Lemurians was back in June. And it said this, that the time has come for humanity to understand their vibration. They're not going to speak to us in English or French or German or anything. No. They want us to understand their vibration. Because when we get to that level anyway, this language and these words we've been using that have really got us into more trouble than not. We're going to find different ways to communicate with the people we're connected to anyway. And it won't be like this. We need to understand their vibration, but we have the ability to do that now. And there have been people in the tribe that have showed up that have had a couple of gifts. One, just speaking light, star language, whatever you want to refer to it. When I met Yamaya, and she came across my path a couple of years ago, and she started speaking things I didn't understand at the time. There was a purpose for that. Well, you can tell over time that she has refined that gift, and that she's not just allowing that aspect to come through. There are many aspects that come through when you sit with Cindy. And then there are people that have had these symbols that keep coming to them. Sigils, and lots of the codes that we're going to receive are nothing but sigils that have been code compressed into language. And when you see the code, you see the symbol, you understand immediately what that means. And when they're in a sequence, just like hieroglyphics back then, when they're in a particular sequence, they could have a variety of meanings. We're going back to those methods of communication. And when I get to see people that bring these light codes forward and speaking light language, well, you know that they're connected to something higher. They were at the same stage we were, because the people I've heard from had understood they could do this when they were kids and just tamped it down because, you don't talk like that around here, and we don't allow anybody to hear that. No, that's a divine gift you have. It's time for you to be able to use it. And maybe some of that you'll train others to do the interpretation, and then there will be others that you're going to do the interpretation for because it's not their realm. Oh, it's coming.
Yeah, I think we could talk for days, to be honest, now, but
we will. We're just getting started. The reunion has begun, my friend. Now we're resources for one another. So we'll have to figure out another time to sit. But like I said, I got to figure out a way to be more economic with my time. We will. I will.
Yeah, well, thank you. Really appreciate, you must be inundated.
Thanks for showing up. There's there's something here that was there's greater than that. I'm not dismissing that, but there was an urgency for me to kind of get to really feel your vibration. And I can get a lot of it through the message you were sending, but you can't, when I can look in somebody's eyes, I can see what their heart is like and figure out whether this is where energy needs to be, or my attention needs to be placed. And you are one of those. So we're good.
Good. Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm going to cut this off now. I'll follow up. There's a greater plan that was illustrated to me about a year ago on things that were so beyond my thought patterns back then, on what happened to me and promotion of that and what it grew into. And I dismissed it back then. I went, it's not anything I'm interested in. It's certainly nothing I don't want to pursue on that level. But over the last several months, pieces of those things have been falling into place. And it wasn't like your clothing ensemble here doesn't have a role in there. I will share with you later. We won't do that here today, but I think you're going to find, oh my God, look at that. And that platform that you built was for a purpose. And I'm going to show you what it was. All right.
Yeah, well, appreciate it, Lowell. I really do. And we'll speak again soon.
Great. All right, buddy. Well, enjoy your day. What hour of the day is it there, by the way?
It's just after 5:30 p.m.
Not bad.
in the evening.
Okay. All right. Enjoy your day. I'm going to stop the recording here first.